significance of Indian descent when it comes to Netherlands, but in particular. How do you see that?
I believe that being from Indian descent, well, again, when we talk about cultural,
How does the political system works? Can you briefly share the difference between how Indian political system is and how elections here in Netherlands are a bit different?
yes, certainly. So, a very important thing that I can mention first is in India, there are constituencies in the national elections. In the
But as your agenda, you have highlighted some of the important topics like housing, daycare, medical. So can you touch upon what are your basis of this elections?
First of all, as a medical doctor, my first expertise is on healthcare. So I want to make healthcare more accessible, affordable,
But
and
can
also
you can you
available.
also share some practical examples of people where they don't realize how some issues, let's say on housing or daycare or healthcare, can be resolved by being more involved in political system of Netherlands?
As I said, politicians do not know about certain topics when we do not hear them, or when not a big enough group says this is an issue for us.
Hello everyone, welcome to Staying Indian podcast, where we cover stories from Indians around the world and their lifestyles and how they live abroad. And one such exciting guest is today here with me, Dr. Nupur Kohli. Nupur is a medical doctor. She is Harvard alumni, and she is contesting parliamentary election here in Netherlands, being the first of Indian origin to do so in mainland Europe. Welcome, Dr. Nupur.
Thank you so much, Gaurav, for inviting me today to your podcast.
Welcome. And yeah, it's truly remarkable, when I read about your journey from being a medical doctor to entering into politics. Can you shed some more light upon how this transition happened?
Yeah, certainly. So maybe I can start from the beginning.
Yeah.
My parents are of Indian origin. I was born in the Netherlands, and short after that, a few months after that, I moved back to India. So actually, the first years of my life, I spent in India, and I came back after a few years, and then spend my life more or less mostly in the Netherlands. The nice thing about our home was that with my parents, I speak Hindi
Hmm.
and I spoke Dutch outside home. As you hear English, you just pick up like that. And that's a great thing about the Netherlands as well, that you can speak many languages at a time. I studied medicine. I'm a medical doctor by profession. I really enjoyed being a medical doctor, but I also saw that there are more issues in society than only in medicine. I've always been a part of our Indian diaspora community in the Netherlands. I really believe in giving back to the community. That's also something that we really believe during my upbringing at home. How can you maintain your cultural values? How can you give back to the community? How can you be of service to other people? So that has always played a big role in my life. And while I progressed in my career, I also had several board positions in large organizations in the Netherlands. I was a supervisory board member with UNICEF, for example. At the moment, I'm a supervisory board member with Shell in the Netherlands. So on many different levels, I've seen, and I also still see, what is happening in society, both in the Dutch society as well as in our Indian diaspora communities, that show you can be of meaning to people in this country in several different ways. But not only that, since I was born, I traveled to India every year, at least once. I do that until today. My parents still have a house in India where we also go to. So that connection has been very, very important for me. It's a part of my life. And then earlier this year, the Dutch parliament fell. I've already been a member of my political party, VVD or VVD.
Hmm.
for 10 years now. And this was the right time to stand as a candidate to become a member of parliament in the Dutch parliament elections. Because I do feel I want to give back to our community right now. I know we will talk about that later as well. But until today, a direct Indian representation has not been there in the Dutch parliament. Also, when we look at Germany or France or Spain, on mainland Europe, we do not see an Indian face in their national parliaments. In the UK, of course, we do see.
Yeah.
But it would be great if, while we are growing as a community in the Netherlands, we can make that possible. So those are a few reasons why I decided now is the time. I do not want to call it a switch, because in the Netherlands, you're never a politician for a lifetime. You
Yeah.
are that for some years. And besides that, everyone has had a professional career, mostly, in one way or the other. So it's important for me to combine those now at the moment. And if I do get elected to work for the people in this country, and especially our Indian expat community.
No, definitely you're quite bang on when you say that on the mainland Europe there is no Indian face, and we are a large community in that extent. But can you share a bit more about how you're connected with Indian diaspora and how large the community is, how it has changed over the years?
Oh yes, absolutely. I think connected with Indian diaspora since I was a toddler, even younger, I believe. My father has always been part of Indian an Indian organization here in the Netherlands. Later on, I also participated there. I played an important role there. Um, Quite some people in the Indian diaspora also already know me through several different organizations. That I keep visiting, that I stay in touch with, which is really nice. But the truth also is, when you want to become someone in the Netherlands, when you want to reach CEO positions, higher leadership positions, or when you want to enter national politics, you need to have a great standing in Dutch society. So, though I have a connection with the Indian diaspora, I've worked
Hmm.
really, really hard to have an excellent standing in Dutch society as well. That is the only way, if we as Indian expats as well, or Indian diaspora, when we are able to combine those two things, then you're able to excel and succeed not only in the Netherlands, but in any country in Europe. So that's maybe already one thing I want to give to the listeners here, to keep that in the back of our minds. Um, our Indian diaspora is very important, but we need to combine those two things. And that is what I've been doing most of my life, taking knowledge from my Dutch activities to the Indian diaspora, what I learned and what I saw in the Indian diaspora to Dutch society as well. And I wish to combine that also, do that in the same way in the future, also in my politics career.
Oh, I think that's you touched upon very important part where you share a lot of cultural values. You share a lot of let's celebrations that we do in different communities, and you kind of try to combine it and to bring the best of both parts of the world. I think that's important, even from your growth perspective, but also from a personal relation building perspective as well. So yeah, another thing I wanted to ask you was the significance of Indian descent when it comes to Netherlands, but in particular, how do you see that?
I believe that being from Indian descent, well, again, when we talk about cultural values, for us, being together in community is very important, but also the way we exercise leadership. I believe from being from Indian descent, I also know how to exercise leadership, being flexible, being able to be flexible in different situations in that context. So no matter in what situation you will put me, because we as Indian people, we know how to survive in different situations. I especially use it in that context. Also, being of Indian descent, I'm someone who practices yoga and meditation. I really truly believe in what our history has brought us and has taught us about focus and staying close to yourself, learning from diversity as well. So uh, all those parts of my Indian descent, I'm incorporating. And besides that we maintain a general connection. I'm not even talking yet about food and music, which
Yeah.
are an important part of my life as well, because that's a normal part. That's just there. So many different ways.
No, definitely, and I think we as expat community also need to realize the importance of politics that it holds. Sometimes we do not realize that. So, how do you see the significance of politics in Indian diaspora altogether?
So the significance of politics is that no matter how we put it, most of the decision making, what happens in a certain country, whether it is this country or another country, happens on a political level. And politicians are mostly aware of certain topics of importance when they get input,
Mhm.
either their own ideas or it comes through reports, but also definitely from the news, or when citizens themselves reach out to them, or when they go visit a gathering of citizens, then they hear about that. So expats are also, and especially expats with a Dutch passport, are also citizens of this country. They live here, they have a house, they may have children that go to school, they have a job, and they have rights. They have rights to vote as well as we as we will talk about in a bit as well.
Yeah.
So in that sense, to be aware of what is happening in a country and also what people can represent you can help you in deciding what you need. What do you need in this country, and um, who can help you with that? And sometimes people are not aware, sometimes people are aware, but I believe in whatever way, it is good to keep yourself updated. And also, for example, I am here as a politician now at a national level, that Indian expats, especially also with a Dutch passport, keep sharing with me what issues are there, but also what are you happy with? What do you want to
Yeah.
keep? All those things.
And how are you planning to engage and involve this community in particularly? What are the steps that you've taken since you have been contesting?
Oh, it's been a very exciting journey during campaigning. So I have traveled literally from the north to the south of the Netherlands, where I met practically every Indian organization and their members, either in person or in an online way, or people have been informed about that I'm here contesting for the national elections. And I've asked them, so what is important to you? What issues are there? What are your needs? And as I just shared, also, what are you happy with? And what I also plan to do in the future, because I noticed that sometimes a lot of information is coming in Dutch,
Yeah.
and sometimes in Dutch in a little bit more difficult language. So I'm already making videos. A video actually today or tomorrow will come out on how to vote. How does the voting process work? But even in the future, I want to make more videos on um, how does the political system work in the Netherlands, or any other topics that are related to that in English as well. So expats and also our Indian community feel more engaged in the topics.
No, definitely, those are some of the great steps. But you should touched upon how does the political system works. Can you briefly share the difference between how Indian political system is and how elections here in Netherlands are a bit different?
Yes, certainly. So, a very important thing that I can mention first is in India, there are constituencies in the national elections. In the Netherlands, it does not work that way. So, for example, to vote, you need a Dutch passport and you will get a stamp pass at home. So, our voting here is also still on paper. And anyone with a Dutch passport can vote from any place in the Netherlands, which is already a difference with the Indian system. And also Dutch citizens who live outside of Netherlands, they can vote, but at a bit earlier time. Then another difference is that the national parliament members have a period of 4 years that they are there. In India, it's 5.
Yeah.
And we here have a coalition system. So we have 150 seats in our national parliament called Tweede Kamer. And you want to fill with your coalition a minimum of 75 seats, which is half of Dutch parliament. So those are, I think, for now, for this podcast, a few of the important things to mention. And then again, it's a very difficult selection process. So here, when you want to become a candidate on a national list, you are nominated from your municipality party members, then your province party members need to nominate you. I had a background check of many years. I heard 10 to 15 years to do a background check of me. You put a CV, you have a long application, then you have several interviews. So there are many different levels. You have to have done several trainings over the years. So it's done in a very structured way. And I think you can already hear what are a bit of the differences with how politics is in India.
No, definitely. And I think, hearing that, I would like to congratulate you to, being able to do what you're doing in terms of contesting the parliamentary elections and going through all that rigorous process and being able to achieve this. So really congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
But as your agenda, you have highlighted some of the important topics like housing, daycare, medical. So can you touch upon what are your basis of this elections?
Yeah, certainly. So, first of all, as a medical doctor, my first expertise is on healthcare. So I want to make healthcare more accessible, affordable, and also available for everyone, but definitely also more inclusive. So when we, for example, let's take our Indian community, we have our own health and healthcare needs. We have our own health issues. We have certain diseases that are more linked to our cultural group. I will call it cultural group for now.
Yeah.
So that's very important to me. But when we look at housing, so not only I, but also my party want to build hundreds of thousands of new houses in every category. So not only in one category, but look at where is there still space in this country to do that, and also to keep that affordable. So the affordability of life is in general a thing where I look at where we can do that. Daycare availability, for example, to make sure that parents that are working also have that available for them. And when we look at education, that is quality education, that people are aware where they can put their child in school, and not only education when children are young, but also when you're adults, that you can do lifelong learning. When we talk about reskilling, for example. So education is much broader than only children. And then there are two other topics. Law and order, that's more for me safety on the streets, that we feel safe and respected as citizens in this country. And global cooperation for me is strengthening the Netherlands, India, not only trade relationships, but in general, the cultural ties also. India is going to become a superpower in the future. They're already on their way. And with the Indian diaspora here, we are a very important link to make that connection even stronger, that exchange of innovation and knowledge even stronger. So for me, that's also a very important topic to take with me. Also because I have both worlds. So as you hear, many things to do for the coming years.
No, definitely. Those are really some of the great topics that you kind of mentioned. And this is one of the reasons why I started this podcast as well, to kind of have that dialogue going on in different communities, how people are living, and what are some of the problems that they face and how we can address them. But can you also share some practical examples of people where they don't realize how some issues, let's say on housing or daycare or healthcare, can be resolved by being more involved in political system of Netherlands?
So, as I said, politicians do not know about certain topics when we do not hear them, or when not a big enough group says this is an issue for us. So one of the things that I heard is that the allowance that you pay for a house is not always paid back to expats, but also to other groups. So that's one topic that we might not be aware of. And another topic that I also heard has more to do with jobs. So when expat students are here, they have a zoekjaar. They can search still. But when, for example, you come here as a knowledge migrant and you want to switch to a different company, sometimes people feel stuck, that they need to stay within a certain contract. I must say, I had heard it before, but now I've become even more aware that people maybe need even some time to make a switch to a different company, or maybe to adjust in a different part of business environment or work environment in the Netherlands. And it did make me think, how can I even also see what on a national level we can make things more comfortable for people. And when we talk about housing, when you come live here in the Netherlands, how fast can you find a house? Are there ways to help people with that? So such issues I heard, which I believe only when you get involved and share that this is a problem for you, not only I, but also others will know that this is something you care about. This is something we should talk about or address. I'm here to listen, at least.
No, definitely. I think addressing your issues, that's the takeaway, and I can relate to the problem that you mentioned while changing the job when you're a highly skilled migrant. So we did face that. So yeah, I mean it's important to address such issues, and when it becomes at a larger community level, then I think it's a voice to be heard. So yeah. But we talked about your contestant, but can you tell us when it is, what people should do, how they can reach to you?
Yes, certainly. First of all, I want to say, if you have a Dutch passport, you can vote from anywhere in the Netherlands. Please use your vote. You have a right to have a say. The election date is on 22 November. I am from the VVD Party, list number 1. I'm candidate number 53. So if you resonate with what I've been sharing today, please do come vote on the 22nd of November. You need your stempas, which you have received at home. You need your Dutch passport. You go to the closest voting booth. The good thing to know is there is a paper attached with your stempas, which tells you where your nearest voting booth is. So it should not be far. And there you will get a big white paper with all the names on it. So all the parties can give names of their candidates. And then you go to list number 1, and you get a red pencil. And then with the red pencil in front of number 53, you fill the circle entirely red. So when you do a cross or a tick, your vote is not count. So that is the way to vote. And I hope that people will come to vote for me, Nupur Kohli, list number 1 VVD, candidate number 53.
Definitely. And I would share this across all platforms. And if you have seen this podcast, please set a reminder for 22nd of November. Yeah. And any final message, Nupur, for our listeners in general?
Well, my final message would be no matter what, we're all in this together. I shared with a Diwali message yesterday that my cousins live in India. A lot of my family does not live in the Netherlands. So all people of the Indian diaspora here become my non-blood related extended family in a way, which feels really nice. So let us keep that in mind, that we're actually all in this together. And and I'm willing to work for that as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking some time, Nupur, and talking to us about some of the really important topics. We wish to see you more in upcoming episodes as well. Thank you.
Thank you.